guys, thank you for joining me today. I wanted to make this video about underpainting. I oftentimes get questions about this and figured it would be a beneficial video for anyone unfamiliar with underpainting and its benefits. First, we'll discuss its purpose and then create an underpainting together. This is a technique that oftentimes many artists use, and it's very common amongst oil painters, but you can create underpaintings using different art mediums like acrylics. When I first learned about this, I thought, what's the importance of an underpainting if it's just gonna get covered up by your paints anyway? But after trying it myself, it was something that I definitely started to adopt, and now I use it all the time, pretty much for the majority of my paintings. I like to think of it as the sketch, where I can establish total shapes and values in the beginning of the painting and sort of have a foundation to really start building on top of. It also tones the canvas, which allows me to see lighter colors that wouldn't be as prominent if I was starting off with just a white canvas. And that it made it less intimidating for me to start painting when I didn't have a plain white blank slate right in front of me, and I already had something down that I could work off of. It can also help to establish more depth and atmosphere in your paintings and kind of keeps it from looking two-dimensional. To give you a better visual representation of this, here I have a piece of canvas paper, on one side in which has been toned and the other side has not. Using the same colors, I'm laying down swatches on each sheet of paper so you can see the difference. So I feel like the reason I really gravitate towards having an underpainting is because the tone surface really allows me to work with lighter colors and highlights earlier on because the background is a little bit darker versus starting with just a white canvas. As you can kind of see here in the example, white and lighter colors don't show up quite as prominent. Now, most of the time I do lay down my darker colors first in a painting and then go in with the highlight colors kind of later on in the painting, but you know, sometimes you gotta change it up. It depends on what you're painting, and sometimes I do like to start with lighter colors first, and the underpainting is great for that. Something else that I found works really well is using complementary colors in your underpainting. So if I'm creating a water piece, usually I'm using a lot of cool colors like blues and purples, greens. So I would want my underpainting to be warmer colors like burnt umber and burnt sienna. But if I'm creating a painting that has a lot of warm and bright colors, it would be good to have an underpainting with cool colors. So you could use a ultramarine blue, phthalo blue, something of that nature. But that gives it really nice contrast. yeah, I want to show you guys how it's done. So if you guys are ready, let's get this underpainting started together. If you're someone wanting to explore oil painting, I'd recommend you follow along and paint this underpainting with me. I plan to take the underpainting we're starting today and create a finished painting out of it, dedicating a video to each step in the process. Basically, all you're gonna need is a glass palette for your paint, the paint you're using, whatever color you decided to go with. I'm gonna be using a burnt sienna, some sort of solvent. Gamsol is really common for this. I'm gonna be using spike oil. I switched to this because I started getting a lot of headaches, and I kind of attributed that to the materials I was working with, and this puts out a really nice lavender scent, which is also one of my favorite scents. And it's supposed to be a little bit safer. It's still always good to make sure that the room you're working in is ventilated. You'll need a glass jar to keep your solvent in as well. Just use like one of these little food jars that has a lid on it too, so I can kind of keep the smell of the solvent down. But yeah, that's what I'm using. So we're just gonna pour our solvent into our jar. So go ahead and just dip your paintbrush into your solvent and then put it down on your glass palette and just grab a little bit of your oil paint and drag it into your solvent and mix it around until we have sort of this watercolor-like consistency and create a very thin monochromatic layer of paint. And that's really what we're looking for here when we're doing the underpainting. The ratio here is more solvent than oil paint. You really don't need a lot of paint because it's gonna get pigmented pretty quick. So I'm sort of just dabbing on a little bit darker paint here to give it the indication of some clouds. Nothing crazy, we don't get too detailed here in this layer. It's really just to sort of visualize where things are gonna go. So we're essentially just laying down the basic shapes and values here. There's areas that I want darker in the painting, and I'm gonna paint it with a slightly darker wash simply by adding a little bit more paint to the underpainting mix that I already have here on my palette. Applying a piece of tape allows you to have a very crisp horizon line, and it's something that can really level up your paintings and is so easy to do. So if you're doing any kind of painting with a horizon line, I would recommend using tape for this. So just a little trick there. I like to allow my other paintings a day or so to dry before going in with the first color layer, just to make sure it doesn't muddy up my colors. However, you can start painting over the underpainting after 45 minutes to an hour. When I'm doing the underpainting, I usually do it a bit faster than when I'm just going in with the colors because this is mostly solvent. Since there isn't much oil paint present, this layer tends to dry and evaporate pretty quick, so you don't have quite as much time to mess around and maneuver the colors. So just get it down there, make it look decent, and move on with it. This really shouldn't take too much time. We're basically just doing the sky, and then we have the ocean water here. I'm making a little indication of where the water is going to be coming up on the sand, and that's pretty much it. I wanted to keep this painting fairly simple so that everyone can follow along and create one of your own oil paintings. I figured this video would be beneficial considering it's the first step for many artists in the oil painting process. However, there is a variety of ways to approach an oil painting, and this is just one example. Depending on what I'm painting, I sometimes change my methods around, so there's really no right or wrong way to approach your artworks. I hope this video gives you guys a better understanding and representation of underpaintings and how it can help elevate your own artworks. If you guys have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out in the comments. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for following videos where we will take the underpainting that we worked on today through my oil painting process that I've sort of curated, and we'll create a finished painting together. I'm so grateful for you being here and spending some time with me today. I hope you have a beautiful day and enjoyed creating something new.